Under the Radar.
Welcome to Under the Radar. Jeff Hemmings, I'm Paul Max, the legend that is Mr. Gene October.
How do you do?
So you may have recognised that clip.
Yeah, great old film. Punk in London. A load of Germans came over in 1977 and made this movie around London about the punk scene and it was going on, you know, in the Roxy, in the Covent Garden, around Soho, anyone they could bump into and go, hey, can we catch footage of you? You know, it was good days, you know, good fun. So we all went, yeah, go on then, because the scene had been going a bit then and it was kind of like, who can we film next? You know, they were asking you, who's rehearsing where, who's hanging out where. What, they're in a coffee bar down the road? Yeah, or they're in that pub down the road? So off they went and just turned up and did people.
Over 40 years later, Chelsea, and you're the main man of Chelsea, still going. We'll just have a look at a clip now from you last year, I think it was. So that was filmed at the Underworld, was it?
Yeah, that was the Underworld in Camden Town, which is a great little place to play. You know, it's like a basement, a dingy basement at the bottom of a pub, you know.
So it all goes full circle, it's like punk at the beginning.
Yeah, holds about 500, you know what I mean? And it's when it's full, it's great atmosphere, you know. I always kick it off by saying, Spirit of 77 in here tonight. It's always been a great place, rather than playing the 100 Club on Oxford Street, you know, it's better, we prefer to play there because the 100 Club in Oxford Street, they've got this piano on the stage which no one can ever get moved because it's a jazz club, I think, mainly. I suppose it's in case Duke Ellington turns up and wants to jam with you, probably. You know?
You're saying about the 100 Club, and that was where the famous punk festival, 2 or 3 day, a weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Back in the day. That was 77, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Pistols and all them.
Yeah. Did you go to that?
I remember bumping into Lemmy on Wardour Street in a pub, and he said, "Oh, come on, let's go down to this pub." I said, "Oh, I'm going anyway." And Lemmy said, "Can you get me in?" I said, "Well, I know the owner, Ron Watt." So we blagged our way in, and it was a great night. I mean, the whole place was just drunk. People were just falling on the floor, you know what I mean? It was in those days in pubs and bars or clubs or wherever you played, they didn't chuck you out because you had 10 points. They didn't chuck you out because you had 20 points. They didn't chuck you out because you were too if I can say that. If you had the money, they'd let you drink more and more and more. It's basically, so long as you didn't scrap.
Yeah.
If you didn't knock someone out, you were fine. You were great, you know.
Well, that Sid did throw a glass, didn't he? And it did hurt a girl.
Well, yeah, that was just unfortunate, you know.
Is this 1976 you're talking about?
Was it 76 or 76? I can't remember.
I think it was 76.
Yeah. So what?
It was late 76, you see.
Make a quick introduction here, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
It's like Chelsea are one of the original punk bands.
Yeah.
With the Pistols, Damned, and the Buzzcocks.
Yeah.
You were like part of the foursome, as it were.
Yes. I've got
Subway Sect as well.
Subway Sect.
Yeah, and God bless old Pete. You know, wow, Pete Shelley, God bless him. The thing is, we did a show in 1976 because we were the only band that had a PA. And the Buzzcocks found out we had a PA, so they said, would you come up to Manchester? So we went to the Ritz in Manchester to let them use our PA to support the Buzzcocks, right? And that was one of the first gigs. And what's his name? Devoto was on
Howard
vocal then.
Yeah.
Everybody took about 6 hours to try and plug in his PA. Nobody knew what the hell, how to work it or anything. It was a great night.
How did you get into punk in the first place?
Well, basically, a lot of us were just hanging around, you know, hanging around the King's Road, hanging around London, Soho, you know, anywhere we could go. I remember during the day I used to have a spliff and then go into Bieber because they had these booths where you could just say, can I listen to the new Stones album or the new Bowie album or something, you know what I mean? And then you go, I didn't like that one. And you could spend all afternoon, basically. In those days, you could listen to album after album before you bought anything.
Yeah.
You could listen to a whole album in shops in those days before you bought the bloody thing.
Yeah.
Musically, then, obviously you're
because
punk, but what did you hear
well,
that made you go,
there
I want to
wasn't
write
anything
songs
going
like that?
on. That was the trouble. Bowie had made it, the Stones and all the bands had, Motley, all the good stuff had gone. The good stuff had either gone to America and they were trying to break America all the time. There was no one playing anywhere, so we all went, well, bloody hell, the only way to have music is to do it yourself. A feeling we all had at the same time that we needed to do something.
But a lot of people did see the Pistols and it kind of gave them the confidence.
There's a few people in London at the Royal College of Art, but you can't blame the whole of England. We all did punk because of the Pistols, you know.
No.
The Pistols were just lucky that the press jumped on top of them.
Yeah.
And Malcolm was able to manipulate the press on behalf of that band to make out that the Pistols were the ones that did everything. Well, the Damned were going well before the Pistols, if you want to put it that way. So did they see the Pistols first? I don't think so.
We've talked about the Saints, haven't we?
Yeah,
Australian band.
Remember the Saints?
Yeah, Stranded. Stranded. The one. I mean, I remember pulling up on around Ladbroke Grove with Mick Jones and Tony James in the car, and this record came on John Peel show, Stranded, and we all went, "Stop the car! What the hell is that?" The sound was incredible.
I saw a documentary, an Australian documentary about the Saints, and it was the same thing that you're saying. There was just this attitude, and it was like kind of everybody.
Because they wouldn't have known about it.
Yeah, they didn't know anything.
Not really.
They were totally oblivious.
No, and there again,
In fact, they hated the punk.
The sound, you know.
They hated the punk being, the slogan being put upon them.
But then you got to say the Ramones.
Yeah.
The Ramones were probably pre-Pistols, weren't they? You know, and that whole New York and the garage scene from LA, you know, and that whole West Coast, you know. I mean, if you ask me, the Pistols lifted the garage scene, if you ask me, and that whole sound, you know, they wouldn't have been had that
Speaking
sound.
of the Pistols, we've started the show with your classic single, Right to Work. Steve Jones, you said he was a good drinking buddy. He once said, "What about the right not to work?"
Steve Jones said that.
Yeah.
Everybody says that, you know. And I get that shouted out at gigs, you know. People get that wrong. They go the right to work. It's not the right to dig a hole. It's the right to do whatever you want to do. That's work.
Going back to the very beginning of Chelsea, it's fair to say that half of your backing band later became Generation X, didn't they?
Generation X. No, they used to be in Chelsea.
That's what I mean. They
used to be in Chelsea.
Yeah. We're going to show a video now of this band called Generation X, who used to be in Chelsea, and the singer used to be your guitarist.
Yeah, in Chelsea.
Well, I'm trying to forget your generation. You turn away our sleep. Forever justified me. Your generation happened to me. Your generation happened to me.
So that was Generation X, or rather...
Oh, original members of Chelsea.
And you now live in Brighton, but you live in Brighton, and William Broad was his name, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Idol. He went to Sussex University.
Yeah, and he was doing a degree there, an economics one, I think, and I met him in London with Tony, because I met Tony first, and I loved the way Tony looked in his leather trousers and his dark glasses and his leather... Tony James, the bass player.
Who later went on to form Zig Zig
I thought straight away, just the way you look, if you can play bass, bloody hell. But he said, I've got a mate, because I said, oh, we've got to get guitarists, and he said, I've got a mate. And so I met him, and he said, but I'm at Sussex Uni, and the thing is, I live in, and if I can't join the band because I'm doing a degree. He said, is there any chance you can come down and see the proctor for me and have a little... So I went, I said, oh, I'll come down. So I went down and saw the proctor with him, and I said, look, man, you know, the guy's, I know he's got a degree to do, and you don't want him to leave, and blah, blah, blah. If you don't let him get this rock and roll thing out of his system, you won't get anything out of him. So really, what he's asking me to ask you is any chance you can bugger off and do this rock and roll thing, and if that don't work out, come back and do this degree. And the guy went, yeah, Mark, go on, off you go, you know, so he allowed him, you know.
And am I right in saying that you suggested he dye his hair blonde?
Billy Idol.
Yeah, I said, just dye your hair. Basically, he wore glasses as well, and I said, get contacts. To finish off, and then he took me to see the Clash at Sussex Uni. We saw the Clash supporting Shakin' Stevens and the Sunsets.
That sounds like an epic gig to me.
Bloody was. There was loads of Teds there. It went right off. Sussex Uni they had great bands there in nearly every weekend, you know.
They did, until
and I don't know
10 years
why
ago.
they don't, you know, that hall, what's happening to that hall now? Why don't we have, you know, gigs at the Sussex Uni, you know? Or is it cheaper to pay a DJ?
Our musical education, for those who went to college or university, was going to gigs. The best bands would play at the universities or polytechnics.
They had great stuff there.
Student circuit, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And you could make a bit of a living from that. And that's how you built your fan base. Now it's almost...
Well, there is a major problem in England. Never mind just that. I'm talking about Sussex Uni. England itself hasn't got a circuit anymore. And it used to be, like you said, a whole university circuit or a college.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they've got all these massive halls, these places. And if they're publicly owned, I don't know why whoever's in charge of entertainment in the government doesn't make them open them up at weekends. Well, if they're after money, you could charge the public to come in.
I think nowadays the government are the entertainment, aren't they?
Like he said, I don't know why that they don't have gigs at all these unis anymore. You know what I mean? Maybe they do have gigs. Maybe it is deep house and a DJ.
You're not a fan of deep house, I'm taking it.
You know, boom, 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 boom. Can you imagine it? Boom, 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 boom. Cool. What have you got to be on to stand there for 5 hours and boom, 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 boom?
A lot of people think acid house was very punk in many ways because it was underground. Even though it is, I think, how you describe it musically, it was kind of like still a strong.
There was a synergy, wasn't there? There was a
movement.
synergy between it being an outsiders movement.
I wonder what you've got to be on to enjoy that.
There's high on life.
There's a clue. Acid house.
Well, and that's deep house. What I was doing, isn't it?
All these subgenres
No, drum and bass.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's called.
What's the other one
was doing.
Right.
Drum and bass.
What's that other one that is happening? Grime. You know about grime?
Anyway.
Okay, going back to Chelsea, the band as opposed to...
Chelsea.
The band you're the lead singer of.
Yeah.
Your very first gig was supporting Throbbing Gristle.
Yes.
At London ICA on October the 18th, 1976.
Yeah, good old Genesis. Genesis got an arts grant from the
Arts Council.
Yeah, Arts Council. So they said, will you do an exhibition? So he said, OK, I'm doing this. So he came up to one of our rehearsals one day on the Portobello Road. He said, I need this band. Can you lot play? And I said, well, what do you want? And he said, well, I'm doing this exhibition. I said, well, what are you going to call it? He said, Music from the Death Factory. And that's what the exhibition was called. And it was kind of like, he had photos of hangings and James Hanratty and kind of like Auschwitz and all kinds of weird coffins, photos of coffins open with the body and all this kind of thing. And he lit them up in such a way in various rooms, and he had this weird psychic TV music pumped in these rooms, you know what I mean? And he called the exhibition Music from the Death Factory. Now, he said at about 9 o'clock, we want to stop it all, and then you lot in this hall play. Basically, we did a load of early Stones covers. I thought, well, we use it as a rehearsal, you know, just to have a jam, man. But I didn't know that Tony James had a mate called Mick Jones from The Clash, who bought a friend of his, Tony Parsons, who wrote for NME, was a major rock writer. Now works for The Sun, of course.
But, GQ magazine.
But he gave us a half-a-page ad for the gig, a half-page review in NME saying, this band's going to be massive, they're amazing. I thought, bloody hell, you know, we only had a stab at it, you know, first ever gig, and we're going to be massive. Great.
Yeah. No pressure.
I thought, that's it then. That's it, you know, that's what I'm going to do. You know.
So that must be the only gig that Chelsea have ever done where you were actually the light relief amongst all the other stuff.
It was great, actually. And actually, the Pistols came down, that's right, to check us out. This what's that lot? We've heard about that lot. What are they up to? You know what I mean? Are they ripping us off, or what are they doing? It wasn't camaraderie ship. Let's sneak someone in so we get a report what they're up to, or what they're up to, or who's doing what. You know, it wasn't helping anybody else out. In fact, it was very cutthroat.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to make it before anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, so.
On that note, let's have a look at Throbbing Gristle.
get a good smacking of...
Gene's telling some of the stories. Throbbing Gristle there, quite a taste.
Song called Discipline.
Yeah. There wasn't
Great
much
stuff.
There wasn't much discipline shown there.
I like that, actually. Yeah, I can
it's
handle
not- I
that.
think it was great.
At a gig, that would be nice. Amazing.
It would have been an experience.
Okay, we're talking about punk, but they didn't do punk, did they? They did something different,
Kind
which
of
is
industrial
which is
kind of-
interesting.
Yeah.
They didn't jump on any bandwagon
Yeah.
of the punk sound. They did try and do
Yeah.
something
just
different,
did their
which
own
I
thing.
always found.
I do remember seeing
interesting.
Genesis P.R.E. say something like, we're one of the only people from the punk era that didn't sell out.
Well,
There might be a reason for
because
that.
probably nobody wanted to sign them. But
He couldn't write pop songs, really, could he?
no, and it's the same with us. Nobody would sign us major-wise because we kept to the people's lyrics and kind of like attitude, and we weren't top of the pops material and kind of that kind of, in those days you had to sell records if a major signed you. I mean, I don't care what you say about the Clash, even the Pistols found that out. That records had to be sold, otherwise you were dropped.
Yeah.
And every punk band found that out in the long term, that, that's what it was about. And if you weren't willing to play the game as such, this is the cover we want you to do, this is the photographer, he's going to tell you what to do, this is the producer, he's going to tell you what songs he wants you to record, and this is how you're going to record them, this is the sound you're going to have. He'll give you the sound and we'll give you the image and you'll shut up. If you weren't willing to do that.
So your first single, Gene, came out on Step Forward Records.
The Right to Work.
Yeah.
We needed to put a record out and we wanted to put this song out on record.
So were you told what to do, or you?
Well, no, not at the time, because the whole idea was we were going to be on Polydor.
Right.
Miles Copeland had done a deal with Polydor where he'd have these artists, certain bands that he'd got, through his mate Mark Perry, who did Sniffing Glue. So any band that Sniffing Glue or Mark Perry liked, he kind of put onto Miles Copeland, and they all recorded on Step Forward. So he went in Polydor Studios, literally, and they said, right, and they put the sound and and we all read it, right, go, and we did the Right to Work, actually played it, and we were finished the whole A and B side, La Lona, in half an hour. Done the whole thing. Recorded. That was it. Thanks, guys. See ya. Do you know what I mean? And that was it.
No vocal overdubs? Just even the vocals were live?
Just all done straight.
Yeah, amazing.
A lot of bands used to work that way because obviously, you didn't have the money for studio time and it was quite costly.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of other bands, the studios were very busy, When you were finished in an hour, there was another band out in the van outside waiting to come in. Step Forward Records, I mean, you're talking about some great bands there. You're talking about the Models, you're talking about the Cortinas, Sham 69, and there was obviously subsidiaries even of Step Forward Records, illegal records, and Deptford Fun City. Deptford Fun City did Squeeze, and then a couple of other bands,
Action,
and then
Alternative TV, wasn't it?
Yeah, which was
Yeah.
Mark Perry's
Yeah.
band.
Alternative. That's Mark Perry's band.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Who's the guy who set up Sniffing Glue?
Yeah.
Just in case people don't
I'm
understand
pretty
that
sure, I'm
reference.
going by memory, I've got an old box of old stuff I bought at the time. And I've got a couple of still original
did you
issues.
find them in the skip outside? We had a fire.
If he did, then they'd be worth a lot of money now. Some guy just sold his whole Sniffing Glue collection on eBay and got a fortune from some Japanese person.
Probably.
But I've got a few early copies because I'm going to put them on eBay, make some money. We're all a bit short of cash these days.
keep
you know.
them.
And I'm pretty sure one of the copies I've got that's in my box, I think you're on the cover. I'm pretty sure you're undercover. I could be wrong, but Chelsea are definitely in the issue. But
Next time you have a look at it, look at it properly.
I'm going to dig it out when I go home.
Yeah.
Were you on a cover star of Sniffing Glue?
We weren't bothered about being in Enemy, Melody Maker or Sounds or Record Mirror. If you're in the glue or on the front of the glue, that was your priority.
Yeah.
Sniffing Glue magazine was the magazine to be in them days. The information in it, bands from all over the country. That's how you knew about the Buzzcocks. That's how you knew about loads of bands from all over the country. The Glue used to travel, get on a train and go and review these bands, interview these bands and whatever. And that's where you got the information from. The rest of these rock pop magazines...
Well, they're the old guard, really, weren't they?
They were all late.
Yeah.
They were all like, you know, you were already famous.
But didn't you do some A&R for Miles Copeland?
Yeah, I went to Bristol and got the Cortinas together, you know. Miles used to use me like that. If I weren't weren't gigging or hanging around for a few weeks, oh, go down, do us a favour, here's some money, go and check this band out for me. So it was great to go and do that. We got Cronjen from Stevenage. There's another one he told me to go and check out, you know, and the parents had to sign forms so that they could go off on the road. They were that young, Cronjen, you know what I mean? They were like, you know...
But you have done lots of other things.
And Miles would
you?
send out a couple of people to look after and mind us, you know, sort of thing.
But you have kind of done a few things. You know what I watched at the weekend? Jubilee.
Oh, Jubilee, yeah.
We were going to try and show that clip, but we're not allowed to.
That was Derek Jarman, yeah. Derek was great to work with because you saw Derek around all the time. Andrew Logan, all these people, you know, artists around Chelsea. You were walking down the road, you bump into people. Oh, what are you doing tomorrow night? There's a party, you know. So you'd go there and get faced, you know what I mean? And you'd meet other musicians, other artists, and somebody would be up to something. Oh, I'm doing a film, would you like to be in it? So, you know, things like that. It was great like that.
I won't ruin it if you haven't seen the movie, but you do get killed off. And it looked really brutal. It looked like it was kind of really happening.
Yeah, and I remember this coming up in Question Time in the Houses of Parliament. Geoffrey Dickens, I think he might have been called, and it came up and it said the film should be banned. It's disgraceful, this scene especially.
Another thing that you did, which you had your Chelsea's manager, I can never say this name, Andy
Kozłowski, who was manager for literally 3 months.
Oh, OK, not that long. But that in the punk days, everything was real fast and short. Yeah, even punk lasted 2 years.
Miles Copeland was our manager, full stop.
OK, but he managed The Damned as well, Andy.
For 3 months.
Oh, OK. And but he did have a club, the Roxy. Oh, it wasn't the Roxy, it was called something else. And you suggested, let's start a punk club.
It was a club, a gay club called Shagaramas.
Yeah.
Because the gay scene in London was on its last legs there again. You know, you're very empty tonight, you know what I mean? Would you like to sell the bar out tomorrow night, you know what I mean? What do you mean, sell the bar out? Oh, well, you know. Basically, I suggested to these German guys that if they had the punk scene... What is the punk scene? Well, it's something that's just started, and if you basically had these bands in here, you'd have to ring the brewery up every day, mate. You'd sell out at the bar, basically, and, you know, and that was music to their ears, because obviously they tried to open a gay pub club, and because of in London in them days, it was very fussy where these people went. And they were making none of it. No one was going there. The place was bloody empty. Every night you were lucky if you had 2 people in there. Hence, I used to bowl in there thinking, well, I'll get in for free. Because, I mean, I was looking for somewhere free to get in, basically, and have a beer. So basically, I used to bowl in there occasionally, and I watched it, and I suggested it to these guys. And then, okay, and I said, they said, well, when can we start? So, because Woski at that time, who was our ex-manager, Mr. Levine, who had a shop on Portobello Road, was his accountant. Because Woski was also managed the Damned for 3 months, let them use this warehouse he had in southeast London to rehearse. That's the only connection he had with the Damned, basically. He let it known to me if I ever see a venue or anywhere, don't know why he didn't use his warehouse as a club. It was massive. It would have made a great club.
And this became the Roxy, is that right?
Yeah, which was the kind of...
Which was the...
Well, at the time,
So
it was the
iconic punk
only
club.
punk
I said, I found this place, go and talk to the Germans, I've already sorted them out. Go in there, tell them what you want to put in, what nights you want to start, how much you're going to get, but basically you have to do a percentage of the door for them and a percentage for yourself, but they want the bar.
So there would be no Roxy Club if it wasn't for this man here.
Yeah.
There you go. And on that note, we're going to see the Damned performing Fan Club. So that was the Damned Fan Club, and
When was that from?
well, Brian James is still in the band there, so
Yeah.
That wasn't from the Roxy, was it?
no,
No.
So Brian James is still in the band there, but they have got Lou Lewis. Is that his name, Lou? Lou something anyway, who, on second guitar. So it must be around the second album time.
He was only with the band, wasn't he, for one
Yeah.
album?
The famous
Brian
album
James?
that Nick Mason produced.
Right.
Yeah, Nick Mason.
Yeah.
Because the captain is a big prog rock fan, isn't he?
Yeah.
I saw the Damned play at the Dome, and they...
Oh, recently?
Yeah, a couple of years ago. I thought it was a joke. Before they came onto the stage, they were in the wings, and they played Fanfare for the Common Man by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And I thought they were having a laugh. Yeah. But you tell me he's a prog fan.
Yeah, he's a big prog fan, which is why they got Nick Mason from Pink
Right.
Floyd to produce their second album, which really was a bit of a disaster. Yeah. So, but there you go. But yeah,
Well, you never know. Mason might have a dirty sound. He might have something, you know.
I don't know, is it any
It's
good?
like, it's funny.
no, the second album's rubbish.
Is it?
It's funny. I mean, I read the other day about Scott Walker who's just died. I mean,
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
bless him. His latest stuff is weird sounds, doing albums using weird,
Yeah, I heard that.
weird instruments and anything that's lying
Yeah.
around
Weird
to
is
make
okay.
a noise.
Weird
you
is
know what I
okay
mean?
as long as it's good.
It's noise that he was into rather than instruments. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And was knocking on anything weird or touching anything weird or even going is a track.
Bobby McFerrin, was that his name? He did a whole load of stuff.
That's a whole
Don't worry,
track.
be happy.
That's it, yeah, he did all that, didn't he? And it hits with it. Like I said, the Damned there, two Sussex guys in the lineup there. Do you bump into those guys?
I do see the captain. He shops a lot in Brighton, so I mean I do see him and say hello.
Yeah.
And then also Brian.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's not in the Damned anymore, but I see Brian. He's around sometimes. They always have a chat, you know, what you up to.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian does a lot of France, you know. I mean, he's got a lot of... he's got a French record company and he plays a lot in France.
He's a brilliant guitarist.
Which is, you know, I mean, that's a whole market within itself, France, you know.
Jumping back, though, back to when first waves of punk exploded, like 76, and all these, you're knocking around with all these guys, in your wildest imagination, 40-odd years later, you still bump into these guys. It's quite weird, really, isn't it?
He's saying you're knocking around with all these guys. You didn't knock around with
Well,
them.
you know what I mean, though. Yeah,
You bumped into them just as much as you do
yeah,
today.
you're going into the same pub.
If you're not getting... If you're not... And there again, not really, because everybody had their own... You know, I mean, a lot of bands were gigging all the time. You only bumped into people if you were on the same bill, or, you know, it was kind of like, that's when you got on, and that's where, or, you know, I mean, we've done 3 coast-to-coast American tours, you know, and I remember the last American tour, that's when I bumped into Billy in Minneapolis. He played the gig that we were doing that night, so he was checking out, and he was like, hey, have a quick beer, and it was great, just then. But all Billy wanted to know was, what's so-and-so up to? Is so-and-so still going? Everybody talking about England, do you know what I mean? All the time, you know.
One character that he bumped into a few times, Sting.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
And he's played bass for Chelsea several times.
The first time was at the Notre Dame Hall, Leicester Square, where we played, and he just jumped up on the encore in his coat and just started playing The Right to Work, and you know, that was good fun. But we had a residency at the Greyhound in Fulham, 4-5 night stint, and our bass player hurt his foot. I mean, really hurt his foot. He couldn't get out the house, so I just happened to bump into Sting in the office one day, and he said, I said, oh, you know, I'm going to have to cancel. I'll do it. So he basically did the 4 nights at the Graham with us, and he had a #1 at the time. Wow. He didn't have to bloody well do that, you know, which was great, you know.
Brilliant. Because you knew him through Miles Copeland as well. Miles and Stuart Copeland.
Stuart was great.
Well, related, aren't they?
They're brothers.
They're brothers,
Yeah.
Miles and Stuart.
Yeah, Stuart was a great person. I mean, there was a famous punk rock tour called the So What Tour. It was the Anti-Nowhere League, Congen, Chelsea, the Defects from Northern Ireland, and it sold out all over England, you know, they got right behind it. But Stuart got into filming. He got into big time. So he said, can I bring a crew on the road with you? So and you lot, I mean, going to the toilet, getting out of bed, everything. So basically he made this film, the So What movie, which got lost somewhere.
Really? Did it ever exist? Ever seen it?
It doesn't exist because he got lost.
It literally got lost.
It'll
He
turn up in
literally
somebody's-
he spent a whole month with this crew filming this
Tragedy,
tour,
yeah.
and it's bang. But we managed to show it one night because we were playing a marquee. And I thought, I'll tell you what, instead of having a support band, why don't I show the film? So I told Stuart, and she said, yeah, good idea. So we actually showed the film. It was great. Quality, everything, you know, it was fantastic. But for some reason, after that night, that week, that month, the film just vanished. Never to be seen again. But you know my favourite drinking hole in Brighton? The Bulldogs in James Street. Where all punk rockers love to go.
OK, well, on that note, we've been talking about them quite a bit. Let's have a look at the Police. Roxanne, you don't need a red light. That's not actually in the title, I just added that. But they did all the early shows with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously were quite big at that time. The Right to Work was selling a lot of records. John Peel was playing it to death. You had Mike Reed, you had Kid Jensen, you had a lot of these people who were following Peel, obviously, but playing the thing as well. So we became quite popular. The police needed, the Mars had got this band together and these guys, and they needed to play. And we were booked to do a West Country tour. Now, I wanted the Subs, because I'd heard of this band and saw them in West London, around Acton, the UK Subs, and I thought, I want to take the UK Subs out on tour with us. The punters would love them. And Miles said, no, I'm paying for it, you have to take these guys, you know. So we had the police supporting us. But I mean, I remember at the time, I mean, a lot of punks were gobbing at Sting and throwing things and whatever. And obviously he was getting very annoyed about it. I mean, threatening to walk off stage. I basically had to tell him, look, it's part of the thing they do. They don't mean any harm. They don't hate you.
It actually means they like you.
It means they like you, you know, and basically you'll just have to dodge it. You know, like it's like bullets. You'll have to just dodge it and get on with it, and it'll make more of a man of you, and you'll learn to play better, I think, if you just get on with it, and to hell with what's going on out there, out front. If they like you, they like you. If they don't stop. Just bang on. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, he, all right then, Gene. Said, otherwise I'll throw you off the tar.
All these years on, and they don't still do that at the gigs now, do they? Now that Chelsea are out playing now, they don't... Do you still get a bit of spitting at you?
No, nobody bothers anymore. They're too old. You know, he used to turn up and do it when we were first playing. But he doesn't bother anymore, you know. I remember that face.
Yeah. That was a weird fad, wasn't it? A weird
A pint of beer.
Yeah.
You know, there was that old sly one.
Lobbing pints.
Yeah.
Maybe occasionally.
It was so annoying when you were like, when you went down with the mic and like, whack, right in your face, a pint of beer.
So the audiences nowadays are much more, you know, laid back.
No, not laid back. They just don't do that sort of thing. And anyway, a pint of beer with the cost of it.
Yeah. Nobody can afford it.
You wouldn't just sling the bloody thing like that anymore, you know.
What's in store for Chelsea? What's coming up?
Well, we got a new album to make. We had one out last year, or 2 years ago, I believe it was, Mission Impossible. Nothing to do with the film. I came up with the idea before they came up with the idea of the film. So we've got a new one of those to do. We've got a lot of gigs coming up. We've got a lot of British gigs to do up north and then various other places. And then a European tour in, I believe it's August, September. So we're full on, and then after all that is when we'll start making the new album.
Right.
Which I know the name of, but I'm not going to give you the name now, because somebody might nick it.
You got a website?
Well, it's the www.chelseapunkband.com.
And everything is there. Gene, it's been a pleasure having you in today. We've been trying to do this for a while, haven't we? And
well, Under the Radar, I always watch it. I think great show, you know. It's just that sometimes we don't know when it's on, do we?
No.
We would like to know.
It's not on the Radio Times, is it?
No.
But you'd think the TV station would have a list of what's on that night.
We'll go upstairs and talk to the boss.
It's underground, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, Gene, and like I said, we've been trying to arrange it for a while, and we've finally done it. It's been fantastic having you.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Lovely.
Gene October, punk legend, one of the originals, Chelsea. Go to the website, check them out, and we'll see you next time on Under the Radar.